Welcome to the channel. Today I am back with another video watching a celebrity's Letterboxd haul, except I only watch 3 films because it's my house and I make the rules. This time I watch Paul Mescal's favourite films to see what they tell us about him. And the 3 that I've chosen were King of Comedy by Martin Scorsese, Remains of the Day by James Ivory, and Manchester by the Sea by Kenneth Lonergan. I've already seen the last of his top 4, so that's also partly why I'm not watching all 4. Blue Valentine was the last one. And I don't remember liking it, so I will not be putting myself through that again to rewatch and tell you about it because I don't have good things to say. So the first movie that I watched was King of Comedy. And King of Comedy follows a 34-year-old aspiring comic, Rupert Pupkin, who studies obsessively to be a talk show host, but has no discernible talent for much, other than a ferocious desire to be famous. And when he meets his talk show host idol, he sees it as an opportunity for him to reach his dream of stardom. Like, clearly the Joker wanted these nachos like fucking badly. Like, it's unbelievable that a watered down version of this film and also a watered down version of Taxi Driver combined together was such a phenomenon. And the fact that they had Scorsese at like those round tables with Todd Phillips during the 2019 awards circuit because he had The Irishman out and the Joker came out the same year. Incredible. Like, I can't believe that happened. And, you know, although I'll defend this film, I'm not sure that this film was like for me. It was interesting enough, but to quote Roger Ebert in one of his interviews, he says, "The film is frustrating to watch, unpleasant to remember, and in its own way, quite effective." The comedy set at the end is the thing that I like knew most about this, that it was like okay. You know, I knew that he was a aspiring comic and that he had a comedy set that was like fine. I didn't think it was gonna be better, but like comedians were like, it's okay, like it's fine. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be like funny. It was just like decent, you know, it's the type of thing that you would see at like a college comedy set kind of vibe. I didn't think it was like an interesting portrayal though, because the characters in this film just tell him to get better. They don't go, oh, you're crap, like they're just like, get better. So it's like interesting to see that representation of someone who's good but not great. It felt very similar to the way that we like refer to good guys, thinking that being good means that they deserve something. It doesn't, and that's kind of what he represents. I also like the ending felt quite twisted. Like, Pupkin does face repercussions for his obsessive stalking of the talk show host, but he sort of becomes famous anyway because of his stalking, which is in no doubt, you know, like what he wanted. So there's like a reiteration that there is really no like help for the mentally unwell, and that a show, like putting on a show, now funny, more laughing like at his expense than with him, is still more fun and like interesting and entertaining than getting someone help outside of the limelight, which we see happen again and again and again currently. Kanye, like, oh my god, get him out of the limelight, help him, someone needs to help him. And I feel like this is like, you know, an interesting mediation on that from such a long time ago that still fits today. The second film that I watched was Manchester by the Sea, and I've never seen this film before because of the Casey Affleck allegations, and I fear I was missing out. You know, curse you misogynistic men. I have a combined synopsis on here. I made one from Mubi and IMDb together. So Manchester by the Sea follows Lee Chandler, who's the main character, after his brother's death and after he has been named guardian to his 16-year-old nephew, Patrick. And this basically forces him to reluctantly return to his hometown, Manchester by the Sea, to confront his past and everything that happened there, like years ago. This is an incredible film. Like, I really, really loved it. It is a resonant, moving, and beautifully somber reflection of grief amidst the backdrop of a clear and crisp and white and blue cinematography like choice, and to the extent, you know, that I can still feel the chill of sadness permeate off the screen about this film to this day. So I did some reading about this film, and Kermode writes that Lonergan demonstrates a keen eye for the mundane rituals that quietly accentuate the anguish of his characters. And I think this manifests so individually for each character, and for Lee, I think it's in his simple interactions and his work, and for Patrick, it's in his carrying on after grief, and also in his fragile hope. I think Lee Chandler, overall, is a character that Paul Mescal would 100% play, and if Paul hadn't been knocking around being 20 years old when this had come out, he would have bodied this role. But even more unfortunately, Casey Affleck is really good at this movie. I was really shocked that he was a really good like actor, and that he probably really did deserve that Oscar that he won for it. So whilst I've never seen a Lonergan movie before, I definitely will be checking them out now. Remains of the Day was the last film that I watched, and it is the story of a butler who sacrificed body and soul to service in the years leading up to the World War, the second one. So he realized a little too late how the reality of his loyalty to the lord of his house was a bit like flawed. In this world of manners and decorum that he maintains, this is all tested by the fact that they get a new housekeeper who falls in love with him. So this is the type of film that I would have never seen if not for this video. I also didn't realise that this was a Kazuo Ishiguro novel until much later. So apparently this novel was really like well received, like it won the Booker Prize for the year that it came out, so that was cool to find out afterwards. I enjoyed this film. I love period drama. I chucked a bit of political intrigue in there and I'm all over that. I think this film is heavy yet designed gorgeously. I think if anything the design actually makes it feel heavier, like it feels like it's being dragged down by like the beautiful curtains that we see everywhere. I think the rich haze of the old period piece on film, it can present itself as stunningly golden yet stifling. It kind of becomes a gilded cage of a film, which I think helps to bring the political turmoil that unfolds around the film's like interpersonal workplace drama like to a boil. Following the servants, I think, in the midst of Nazism in England is an interesting premise, especially in our political climate where people don't really understand what is happening in terms of fascism right now, and we are, in many ways, we are the servant class and we are seeing fascism on the rise. Which is why I think Anthony Hopkins is wickedly good in this, by playing Stevens as someone with such an uptight and fraught preoccupation with propriety and loyalty. He leads himself into an impressive show of class traitorship. I think that's an interesting like display of class and like people not understanding how class works, especially if you're nearer or less near to the people in the upper classes and the people who control things. Which is why I think this film is simultaneously a little plodding and brittle in what it's trying to say, but it's also a very intense story at the heart of everything, which is why I assume the story itself won the Book Prize. I'm not sure if this was like nominated for any Oscars, but I know Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson, who plays the housekeeper, also were nominated for Oscars. Something else that I found out about this movie after watching it was that the film was produced by a brown person and a brown woman. She's not brown, she's a German Jewish woman who married a brown man. Apparently there's a lot of brown people on the set for this. Were collaborators with Ivory in making this film, and I feel like since she wrote this film and she was a German Jew who fled Germany before the rise of Nazism, this is like a cool project to see from that specific perspective, because if anything, who better to really understand caste and colonialism than a German Jewish woman, and also, like a brown man. Like Indians really understand caste and colonialism before anything else. So that was like a cool thing to find out like after the fact about the way that this film is like presented. Even though this film isn't as political as maybe I've made it seem, I do think the subtle nuances of politics in this specifically like just reflect in the way that we are living now, which I think was really cool. Now what does that tell us about Paul Mescal overall? I think what it tells us is that he seems to really love the feeling of grief and the cold, uncomfortable sort of like wrenching of one's stomach when you're watching a film, elements that I think are very easily spotted in his own filmography and also easily what he does best. I think it's kind of fun that his favourite films are sort of in his ballpark. It feels very human and self-assured. He knows what he likes and chooses to prioritise working on that, and in that I feel a sort of similarity with him. I too have a burning desire to create and also not be involved with the things of art that I already like. It's not just about the line of work, it's also about creating what you enjoy and leaving a legacy of work that you actually love. So overall, those were the 3 films that I wanted to review. Go watch these films, or don't. Your future with these films is up to you. Thank you for watching this video though. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you're really about it. Hope you have a great day, and see you next time.